I didn't see a whole flashing hand go up though. Steve, thanks very much. I sure appreciate it. I get a little bit concerned when people say a disaster specialist. It means that I go in and help people after disasters. I don't cause disasters. I do that a little bit at home. Welcome. This is, I think, been about 8 months in the planning. I want to thank Darlene very, very much for giving me a call, inviting me to come in, and I'm thrilled to be here. I just hope by the time we're done, you're also thrilled that I came. I don't know if that's going to be the case. We're going to have evaluations once we're finished, and if you'd be kind enough to leave those for me, I'll complete those for you. Is that okay? All right. We're going to have a chance to be able to do 2 talks today, and I'm looking forward to both of them. And the first one is a subject I have a chance to be able to speak on quite regularly. It is change, and it's going to be I'll put it to you this way, it's going to be an extremely different way or unique way of looking at change. We're going to look at a couple of different categories and such, and I'll even give you an idea as to what we're going to take a peek at. Now, the challenge with this is that I come with, as Steve said, a disaster management background. So some of the change that I've seen occur over the last 27 years, and I probably respond to about 200 incidents a year. And so I have a company, and this is what we do. I also have a private practice in our town in Newmarket, Ontario, and have a number of different specialties. But for the most part, what will occur is someone will call, or they'll come in to see me after a significant change has occurred in their lives. And most often, those are the changes that are imposed upon them or happen suddenly. So you'll hear me talk a little bit about my classroom in a second. You'll hear me talk about some of the things that I've learned, not necessarily from the schooling, but more importantly from the people I've had the honor and privilege of being able to speak with. Does that make sense to you? As professionals, I'm sure you probably encounter that all the time, where those people whom you have the privilege of working with will teach you considerable amount. And before I even get started, I had a woman come in to see me just before. This has been a bit of a crazy week because I was speaking in Vancouver and flew back in, and I was talking to Steve about the day of the week. We'll say it was Tuesday. Had a chance to be able to speak with her. I've been working with her now for about 2 years. And at the end of it, she said, "Your face, it's just bright." And I said, "Okay, that's nice. How come?" And she said, "Just as I'm talking about these things and the things that I've learned about myself." And I said, "Well, I'll tell you why. You're teaching me." She said, "Well, that doesn't make any sense. I'm teaching you, and I'm the client." And she asked for a refund, actually, at the end of that. So I promised her that all endorsements and that sort of thing will go directly to her. But I say that to you because through her change, through those changes, and same sort of thing that you'll encounter with the people in your lives, the people in your professional lives, you're going to learn a significant amount about this very subject. So we're going to do a couple of things. We want to take a look at the 4 different types of change. Now you have to appreciate, I'm the kind of guy who I always found it difficult to compartmentalize things because I never believe it's that neat and tidy. You know, I think for theorists like myself or academics, there's a tendency we need to do that. But we'll call it 4 different types of change, and it bleeds in one to the other in terms of the personalities. And this is what I want to look at as well. Every one of us bring a different personality to change. And I'm also going to say that personality, change personality, will change as our lives continue. My change personality when I was 21 years of age is very different now than I'm 51 years of age. It has to do with different things in our lives, adaptability and such. We're also going to take a look at some stages. Now this will make some sense to you because I want you to be able to see some very realistic examples. These are things that happen in all of our lives. We're going to take a look at some strategies, and I think it's unfair for me to introduce the idea of how change impacts us without giving you a couple of hints as to what it is that you can do. Now, I've got to tell you that I'm probably a little bit of a self-care fanatic. And so there's a bit of a theme of self-care when it comes to adapting to change. And the other term that I'll give you a bit of a trailer on, or a preview of, is the term proactive or on purpose. Because nothing of any positive significance is going to occur by accident. So, if you can pardon me, I thought that made for a nice sound. And the final thing that we're going to do is take a look at how it is that we can change in a positive way. So let's move forward a little bit. How many people commute? Does anyone commute? Now understand, you're talking to a guy from Ontario, right? Really? Is that a commute? All right. Sometimes bad things happen at a commute. And I'll never forget this really quickly. Years ago, I don't know if it was probably my brother's 40th birthday. I had a chance to come back to Moncton. It's always a privilege to come back. And because George and I were originally brought up in St. John, New Brunswick, so they had asked me to leave the province years ago, and periodically now I'm able to come back when the day pass. So I came back for his 40th party, and his mutual friend of ours, we grew up with him. He approached me, and once people know you're a therapist for a living, there's a tendency for people to approach you. Have you ever run into that sort of thing? So he did. He said, Bill, look, I got a problem. And I thought he was joking because he had a keys in his hand, and I said, what's up? He said, I've got a problem, I've got stress. I said, what's the stress about? My commute. He said, I used to have an office downtown St. John, and he said, my commute was 7 minutes. And I was about to hit the guy. I thought, are you kidding? I'm traveling an hour and a half each way downtown through insanity to downtown Toronto. To probably make less money than anyway. Forget about that. And then he says, well, now it's changed, Bill. I've moved, and my commute's 13 minutes. Can you imagine? So I said, listen, it was really a pleasure speaking with you, and by the way, this is billable time. So, anyway, 13 minutes. So let's talk about daily commutes. This is a tough daily commute as far as I'm concerned. Come on. It's not going to work.
I see that.
Let's go back, Steve. Steve, sorry about that. Sorry, guys. Actually, the visual's pretty good here, too. Yeah. Even the visual's not bad. By the way, this is downtown Toronto.
No, I pulled the audio cable out just to see.
Did you? No, this isn't good.
Well, I paused the tape, so we can fix this.
Sorry, guys, I apologize.
Yeah, we had this all.
We had tested it out.
We did. Which one's the audio feed down there? It's so on mute.
Let's go down. And then up. Okay. You okay if we do this without sound? Okay, I think you're going to find it a tough commute either way. And I had these two videos in there, and the first one certainly will go without sound, and we're okay. So let me just let you look at that for a second. My apologies.
Well, if we had to black the screen out so we can't tell.
That's the last time he changes his route to go to work, I can tell you that. Let me ask you a couple of quick questions if I can. How many people over the last 12 months have gone through what they would consider a change in their lives? Anyone? Most of us have. How many people over the last 10 years have gone through what you might think to be a significant change in their lives? Most of us have. And you know, one of the things that's intriguing about that, as much as we think we don't want it, in fact, it's going to happen to us either way. Now, you're going to hear me talking a lot about generational differences. And generational differences, I'm not just talking about chronological generational differences. I'm talking also about attitudinal generational differences. And you're going to hear me reference a guy in a little while who is I happen to be a real fan of, and that's my father-in-law, who's soon to be 88 years of age. And he's taught me a good deal about the difference between chronological and attitudinal generational change. So I just want to give you an idea where some of those lessons are going to come from today. And again, they're going to be a little bit unorthodox because for the last 27 years, I've been honored and privileged to be able to work with a number of groups around the world. And
this is advancing, eh?
Pardon me?
That's supposed to advance, I think.
It'll do it on its own, yeah, that's perfect. Right? And when I say that too, because